Best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your check. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
Everybody, it is your boy DFS Up North, aka Josh Thomas, here for another Unplayable Lies PGA pod brought to you by, oops, clicked on the wrong thing there. Where am I going here? Oofda. Technical difficulties there. I couldn't get this thing to go live earlier either. But yeah, we're at the Unplayable Lies PGA pod where I tell you about all the players that I'm playing that you shouldn't, and it is brought to you by MajorsChallenge.com. If you have not played on MajorsChallenge.com yet, it is my favorite new site to play with my family and friends and our DFS Army Listener League, which I have been getting I just got absolutely smoked last week. And we're going to look at that here in a second and maybe kind of find out where I went wrong. But we are here for Major Championship Hangover Week. The Wyndham Championship. It's kind of crazy. We just had the PGA. Now we get the Wyndham. And now after this week, which a mediocre field at best, and then we're right into the FedEx Cup playoffs. So, and then right after the FedEx Cup playoffs, we're in for the U.S. Open. So it's a really exciting time for golf here. And by the time we get to the U.S. Open, guess what else is running in full steam here? NFL. And if you are ready for NFL like I am, and I mean, I'm a little disappointed by the news about the college football stuff today. I love college football. Our college football team at DFS Army crushes. But I'm excited about Saturday slates for NFL if we can get that. So I am excited about 3-game Saturdays, 9-game Sundays, Thursdays, Mondays. I love it all. So if we can get another day of NFL football, I am all in. Fingers crossed, everybody's healthy, everybody can stay safe. But so we are ready to roll for that at DFS Army. Again, if you're not a DFS Army VIP, you can use that code UPNORTH for 20% off VIP membership. We're going to look at a couple of things today in this pod that we get access to for our DFS Army VIPs. In our research station, right? And I've talked about this on this pod before, is that the research station at DFS Army is, I could not play DFS golf without it. I don't know what I would do. There's tons of other sites out there that I've subscribed to that I've used for data, things like that, even just using like the PGA Tour's website, which they're sitting on a gold miner data that they don't know how to use, but that's a story for another day. I literally could not play DFS golf without our research station. There's other sports that, you can peruse Twitter, you can watch, like I literally would not be able to play without our research station. And the exciting thing is talking to the mastermind behind it all, Taco, today. He is in the midst of hopefully looking at some ways to rework it, make it more customizable, more sortable for our DFS Army VIPs in the off season this year. So we'd hopefully be rolling that around by the Sony Open, right away in January for the 2021-2022 season, which is crazy to think about, that we are already at that point in the year. Yeah, it's NFL, and now it's time for PGA. So we got the Wyndham Championship this week. The Wyndham Championship is in Greensboro, North Carolina. But before we get to that, I want to talk about last week's winner. Billy Hoes before bros, Daniel Thorndyke, not the most appropriate name in the world, but Danny was going to be on with us tonight, but he is our first international winner, which is kind of crazy, right? He is, not here, like I said, because he is over in England, right? And he can't, we just messed up the timing. So I'm hopeful to interview him hopefully tomorrow and talk a little bit about Majors Challenge. And if that's the case, we'll slide that in right about here. And we can talk to him then. So let's take a look at, obviously he crushed. He had Tommy Fleetwood, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa, just a great core. He missed on Woodland in tier 2, but then really smashed everybody else, right? Harris English was a great call. Brendan Steele was a great call. He had Scotty Scheffler there. And so now what I want to do is I want to take a look at my lineup, right? Let's go see where I made some mistakes this week. So scroll down to completed events here for the PGA DFS Army Unplayable Lies podcast. Again, Daniel was your big winner last week, and it was really kind of going away, right? Minus 62, which is really incredible. So obviously Daniel's way up here. We had Robert Johnson in second, William Potts in third, Handley RS, my boy, the Delaware Destroyer, in fourth. And you gotta scroll. You gotta scroll. Lunas, Michael Cavalier from Fanshare Sports, he's in there crushing. DC and KC, sneaky, really good player, especially in showdowns in those 4-mans. Blake Turner, former winner, he was at plus 30, so that makes me feel a little bit better. There I am, almost dead last. Where did I go wrong? All right, so the first mistake, right, as always, it's always about how many cuts you have. And if you do have some cuts, so like Mike here had 6 cuts, which was actually more than I had, but then he had Colin Morikawa, the winner, right? Who was, I think, pretty low, 15, not bad, so not super low owned. But yeah, the less cuts you have, again, Daniel, 0 cuts. Everybody else, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you look all the way down to me, I had 5, which wasn't good. And again, remember with Majors Challenge, if you're cut, you end up getting the score of whoever ends up the highest score on the weekend. So for us, it was plus 10. And those just get added to your total. So the less cuts you have, you are in much better shape. So Daniel, obviously with 0, didn't have to add any plus 10s to his score. And so yeah, for me, my mistakes clearly, Patrick Cantlay and Justin Thomas not getting the studs here was a mistake, right? I mean, these guys were the studs. I feel good. I feel really good about how Patrick Cantlay played on the weekend, but not having Colin Morikawa from this tier, right? You can believe if we go up to here, the breakdown by tier, right? So Group A. So me not having Colin Morikawa, Bryson, Rahm, that hurt for sure. And impressively, everybody in Group A besides Hatton made the cut. That's really impressive. Group B, right, I had the highest own in Fitzy, missed the cut. I had Ches and Finau. Didn't have guys like Rosie, which not many people had, but Jason Day was a great play, great call by those of you who played him. Missing out on Scotty Scheffler here, which 11 of you played. That was huge. Brendan Todd, only 4 of you guys played, but he played really well. Matthew Wolf, who was my boy in Sunday Showdown. Yeah, you can clearly see where I had some issues. Man, the 3 of you who played Siwoo Kim, just really, really impressive. And I love him this week. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit. But again, the player cards here are a great resource. I love taking a look at these, right? You can see PGA Championship, and you can see their whole card, right? So actually, maybe I'll come back to this. We're going to talk about this guy here in a little bit, but let's look at Tommy Fleetwood's rounds. So 70 in round 1, 4 birdies, 2 bogeys, and a double. Then he got hot fire, right, in round 2, 64. The rest of his week was really, really mediocre. And I think it's masked, again, by one really good round. You look at he actually lost almost 3 strokes approach for the week, which is no bueno. And I think he's going to be pretty popular this week. So for me, that's going to be nope, I am out. So Daniel was our winner. He is going to be getting that brand new authentic PGA Championship flag. I'm going to get charged an arm and a leg to send that through international mail, but hey, it's worth it for you guys, right? But yeah, so Daniel, if you wanted to ever make your own league with friends and family or whatever here, it is so easy. There's this little link at the top here that says, start your own Majors Challenge pool. It's literally this easy. You enter the league name, you fill out the tournaments, you figure out your point pool, and boom, you go from there. Like I said, it is so easy to do. And it's something that, I am playing with a couple of my buddies. The plan is hopefully at some point here to start a small league with our DFS Army guys or friends and family from there, because I consider you guys all friends, right? But yeah, it's going to be it's a really fun platform to play on, and I'm excited to continue to use their product. And, if you ever need any help getting set up over there, just shoot me a message on Twitter. If you're in a DFS Army VIP, you can hit me up in Slack, and I can help you get set up. And if you ever wanted to start a league, hey, invite me. I like I said, I love, and apparently I'm easy money over there. I got crushed last week, right? So, all right, so let's get into talking a little bit about Wyndham. Right, the Wyndham Championship at Sedgefield Country Club. It is a par 70, 7,127 yards in Greensboro, North Carolina. It is a Don Ross design. Don Ross is a classic designer who's done a bunch of really, really famous golf courses, but maybe the ones that you remember recently are places like Detroit Golf Club. The thing about Ross's is they're very much right in front of you. They're typically well bunkered, but this one is not, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the other thing about Ross's is that typically he did like Aronimink, I believe. They're kind of birdie fests. So like Detroit Golf Club, where they play the Rocket Mortgage Classic. This course, where I think the average score over the last 10 years is minus 18 for the winner. It is going to be an absolute birdie fest, right? Greens, we are back on Bermuda. Everything is Bermuda this weekend. Maybe the other reason that this is going to be a birdie fest is that look at that rough, 2.5 inches. We're not talking about 4 inches. We're not talking about bent. We're not talking about a POA mix or a rye or Kentucky bluegrass. 2.5 inch Bermuda. It sucks around the greens, but in the just off the fairways in the rough, you are going to get good lies. You're going to get some flyers, and you're going to be able to attack pins from the rough here. So definitely going to play fairly easy. Average green size is 6,000 square feet, which is right about in the middle of green sizes on tour. But the thing about here is that we're talking about 6,000 square feet, but it's 6,000 square feet wide. I'm trying to get my hands in the camera here, right? There we go. 6,000 square feet wide, not deep. All right. Yes, it's the average square footage, but they're very wide. What I'm saying is they're very wide, but not very deep. So you really got to hit almost a high soft landing shot into these greens. There are some areas that you can run up. It's a Ross, so there is a lot of turtleback greens where if you don't land it in the right spot, it's going to roll off the green. So I believe this course really sort of benefits guys who are elite iron players, and it's just a fairway green type of course. When you look at some of the winners here, guys like Webb Simpson, Siwoo Kim, Jimmy Furyk, Kevin Kisner's had a ton of success here over the years. Guys like that have had a lot of success here, and there are a lot of guys. It's not a course that we've seen guys overpower. At times, we have Brooks had a good run here 2 years ago, but Davis Love is a 3-time winner here, and in his day was one of the longest players on tour. But it's again, put yourself in position, right side of the fairway, hit the right spot in the green. You're going to get a birdie look almost every single hole. Only 52 sand bunkers, which is about a normal number, but the bunkers are really, really weirdly placed. I was talking to Taco about this earlier because this actually is the number one lowest amount of sand shots on tour. And the reason being is, like I said, the bunkers are in just kind of really weird places. And if you watch, you'll be able to see there's, they're 20 feet off the green. So they're not butted up to the green. They're 20 feet in front, which if you end up, it's a tough shot from there. But unless you really mishit a shot, you're not going to find yourself in a lot of these greenside bunkers. The fairway bunkers are pretty deep. They got deep lips on them. So if you do end up in the fairway bunker, you're in trouble. But again, they're weirdly placed. Ross is obviously not an ancient architect, but he's an older architect from the 20s and 30s, and they have been redone, these courses that these legends have built. But I think for today's sort of player, a lot of these bunkers just aren't in play. Where they do get you, though, is the water, right? There is a big pond on 15 that is a par 5 that really bottlenecks up at it's right at 300 yards. So it's a bottleneck for the fairway, and then there's straightaway water. So you will find some guys getting into the water there. 18 is a long par 4 with a ditch running through it. So water is in play on 6 holes, and that can make you a big number. With the cut line being at -3 and the winning score being so low every year, you really want to avoid the water, right? Especially if you're trying to make the cut. You have to make birdies. You have to make a lot of birdies. Lots of medium par 4s. and lots of 150 yards. Oopsies, I'm going to do that. Lots of 150 to 175 yard shots. So this is something right from our research station that if you are a DFS Army VIP, you can get access to every week. And like I was talking about the sand strokes per round, we can see that it is number one on tour in average sand strokes per round. The rest is pretty normal. The fairways are fairly narrow here. Not as narrow as we saw last week at Harding Park, but they are narrow enough where you are seeing this in the bottom third of courses for rough strokes per round, meaning that you have more shots from the rough than your average course on tour. 28 putts, which is right about there's about 65, 66 courses in our database. So 31's right in the middle. Nothing crazy. And you look at the approach strokes, 3% less shots from 125 as normal, 2% more from 125 to 150, and then 150 to 175, you're actually seeing 7% more than average. So that's sort of that key target range that you want to be in here. For most of these guys, that's a good 9, 8, 7 pitching wedge, things like that. All right. Another thing that you can get access to in our RS is the historical correlations to success here. So we can look at, correlations from 1st to 25th. So on average, the guys who finish 1st to 25th, their season long, rankings, what does it correlate out to? So what are these guys who finish 1st to 25th? What do they really do well? So what we find is that there's a big correlation between greens and reg at this course. There's a decent correlation in strokes gained off 15 strokes gained approach, and then the scoring average has a huge correlation. So the guys in 1st to 25th typically are going to be high in scoring average, birdie or better percentage, and bogey avoidance. So you want guys that make a lot of birdies, avoid bogeys, and just are good DK scores. And again, in our research station, you can sort by birdies or better gain percentage. You can sort by bogey avoidance. You can sort by DK points per round. You can sort by, essentially anything. And again, that is why I cannot do DFS golf without it. Use code UPNORTH for 20% off VIP membership, and you get access to all of this data like this. And weekly on Wednesday, I go through and break down what I think is important for you to look at in the research station in my weekly Chalk Donkey video. So the 4 balls portion of this podcast, how it works, I give you 4 plays, 4 fades, and 4 punts. So my favorite play and fade from each salary rate, 10K, 9K, 8K, 7K, and then my favorite punts that are priced 7K or below. I am taking some guesses. It is Monday, right? We don't have a clear idea of ownership, right? And I think that's a really important aspect of DFS golf that maybe goes overlooked is playing the ownership game. Now, I say that with the chalkiest player the last 2 weeks winning the golf tournament. All right. So essentially the highest owned golfer in DFS the last 2 weeks has won. And I'm sitting here telling you that you need to fade the ownership. Well, again, you also need to get over recency bias, right? Long-term, playing guys that are under-owned in a high-variance sport like golf is going to pay off, right? We have gone through a couple of weeks of the chalk really, really hitting, especially since the restart. The high-owned golfers have really played well, and some of the pivots have not. But again, you got to think of golf at DFS in general in a macro concept, right? And long term, you're going to be better off when you're playing the guys that are less owned because you are giving yourself a better chance to climb up those. If everybody has Bryson and Bryson does well, it's not about Bryson, right? It's about the rest of your lineup. But if everybody has Bryson and you have Brooks and Bryson shits the bed, for lack of a better term, and Brooks crushes, right? And Brooks is 7% owned and Bryson is 25%, what happens to your lineup? Right, you smash, and those Bryson lineups go down. So again, it's about building leverage and having that macro, like long term. I want to do the same things over and over again because it's going to put me in a position to succeed, right? And then again, with golf, I'm not in any sport for that matter in DFS. Like I'm not trying to min cash. I'm not trying to just have what everybody else has and double. I mean, I love doubling up my money, and people don't think about that enough. I play cash games and things like that for that reason. But if I'm playing GPPs, and that's what this pod is for, and that's really my main focus every week is if I'm playing GPPs, I am here to win. If I don't give myself a chance to have a top 5% lineup, I did something wrong in my build, right? So that's really how I am. How I am looking at, my lineup construction and things like that every week is how many top 5% lineups did I have? Because that's where the money is in the top 5%, at least in most GPPs. So like when I was building showdown lineups with we crushed on Friday with Hao Tong Li. Wrote in my notes that I loved him, whatever. He was in my main build. And that was, I ended up with like a top 2% lineup, right? Which is great. I can look at that and say like, okay, I made some mistakes here. But then on Sunday with the captain mode, which is the new showdown mode on DraftKings, which I really like, I nailed it. I had Wolf as the captain, right? I had a top 35% lineup. So guess what happened? I didn't cash. So where was my mistakes? Well, I played a chalky Brooks. I played a chalky Patrick Cantlay. And I really, while I played the arguably the right best play in the captain spot, the rest of my build wasn't ready to win a GPP or built to win a GPP because I played a lot of that chalky Brooks and Cantlay, and that's what happens, right? You can make some of the right plays, but if you pick the wrong play in there somewhere, you end up falling back. So again, like my opinion is always like, well, people are high owned for a reason, but if I'm trying, and so if they're high owned, that means that they're a perceived great play by the community. Play them in cash. Play everybody else in GPP. So getting off my high horse, if you are interested in conversations like that, again, become a DFS Army VIP and join me for my weekly Chalk Donkey videos where I kind of get into a breakdown. I yell at you about mistakes that you're making, that I'm making too, and it's a good time, and hopefully I can help you guys learn. So this week in the 10K range, I'm going to pop off this so we can see. In the 10K range, I am going right back to Brooks Koepka, baby. Absolutely. I'm probably going to get burned. But can Brooks Koepka boat race this field? And what do I mean by a boat race, right? Can Brooks Koepka win by 5 strokes? 100%. If he puts it all, he can win by 5 strokes. This guy is crushing at approach. So not traditionally not a great bent grass putter, a Bermuda putter, and I really think that there's a chance for Brooks to have a huge week this week at low ownership, because again, we are in a recency bias sport in PGA DFS. People go by what happened on Sunday and they forget about the rest of the tournament. So a guy like Brooks Koepka, who is absolutely crushing it tee to green, and a much better bent grass putter than anywhere else, is now going to return to a course that benefits guys who are crushing it tee to green and are good bent grass putters and can score. I think this is a slam dunk. Love this play. I think that he is definitely, gonna have a big week, and you know what, might come back and burn me here. It's happened before. I chase Brooks quite a bit. And he was 6th here back a long time ago when he was first coming out on tour and first winning it. And incidentally, today is the first day since 2017 that Brooks is not defending a major, which tells you how good the guy is. But I really am a big fan of Brooksy this week. So he's my 10K favorite play. My 10K fade, like we talked about a little bit ago, is Tommy Fleetwood. He had one good round. He lost strokes approach for the week. And just really, since his return, has been, for lack of a better term, kind of crappy. Let me look here. I'm going to bring up and see what his strokes gained is recently. Obviously, never a great putter. But yeah, he lost 3.4 strokes approach at PGA, lost strokes approach at the 3M in the first game back. Was good off the tee last week at PGA, which I think helps. And then he was way over his baseline for putting last week. You can look at this one of two ways. You can say, oh, he's going to keep that hot putter going. Or you can say, oh, that putter's going to go back. And if his approach game doesn't come back, which, I mean, right now it doesn't look like it is, he's in big trouble this week. And I think he's going to be very, very highly owned. So, that's a guy that I'm definitely looking at as a fade this week. I should know, if you'd have played my fades last week from this article, you would have crushed. So maybe don't again, all the players that I'm playing that you shouldn't, and all the players that I'm not playing that you should. Billy Horschel is my favorite 9K play. I think he's sneakily one of the more elite players in this field, and I guess not sneakily, he's 25-1 to win. Got great history here. Been playing really, really well. Had a random tough week off the tee last week, which is very uncharacteristic for him. He had like a 16 tournament streak of gaining strokes off the tee, and then all of a sudden lost last week. So But the rest of his game was great. So I think that we see some positive regression there. I really like Billy Ho. This 9K range is funky. There's like, 4 players now that Abraham Answer pulled out. Because of that, I think that we see a guy like Harris English be way overowned. He's way priced up compared to where he arguably should be. And with no Answer, I think that people are going to jump there. And I just think long-term his skill set is not worth the price tag and the ownership. Doesn't mean that he's a bad player. It's just I'm banking on some long-term regression here from Harris. So I like the guy. I've played him a bunch. I'll just be underweight this week. My 8K fade, we'll start at the bottom here, is Ryan Moore. And again, more of an ownership fade than anything. He's going to be super popular, right? He's been 6th here in the past. He's got back-to-back 12th place finishes. Granted, one is the Barracuda. But his short game is so bad, and he really doesn't score that well, right? He's not a great scorer. He's not somebody that, again, because his putter is so bad that he's in trouble if, he gets to the greens. He's going to have tons of looks at birdies, but you're going to watch his shot tracker and go nuts watching it because he's just getting smoked everywhere because he can't putt. Siwoo Kim, this is probably going to burn me, but he's sneakily consistent lately. I'm just really a Siwoo fan this week. He's won here before. He plays well at these courses that he typically wins at. And he's just playing great golf right now. He crushed at the PGA last week, like literally crushed. So I am a big Siwoo Kim fan this week. All right, keep going here. In the 7Ks, my fade, Doc Redman. You're going to hear a ton about Redman this week, right? He's a North Carolina guy. He played at Clemson. Like, he's been garbage. He's been good at the PGA last week. I'll give him that. But 3M, terrible. Played well at the Rocket Mortgage, but just I don't think that he's a great course fit here. And he really struggles on Bermuda. So for me, it's a fade. The guy that I really do like those this week in 7K, you're going to look at the stats and think like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. But Brandon Grace. Grace was T2 at the Barracuda. Going into round 3 and had to withdraw with COVID, right? Tested positive for COVID, had to withdraw. So if you look at his stats, you can see that his approach game has really started to improve the last couple of weeks. His iron play has really picked up, and now getting back on Bermuda greens and off of the crappy bent that he sucks on is going to help him score. Obviously, a guy who can make a ton of birdies. He set the open record for lowest round a couple of years ago. Played well here in the past. Never really popped for a big result here, but I think at 7.1K this week, I'm a big Brendan Grace fan. As we go into the blow, there's a lot of good value this week. A lot of good value. And I struggle with it because I think that guys are going to really try to hammer the stars and scrubs because there's value. And I'm going to probably try to play more balance. But these are guys that, there's some guys down here that I really like Chris Baker at 6,200. You can see him on the right there. I think he's a really sneaky punt play. He had a really rough fall. The COVID break didn't help his chances. But recently he's been playing great, including, he had to go back to the KFT when early in the year because when you're a low status guy, you don't get into all these events. But an elite iron player over his last 12 rounds on tour, he's actually top 10 in strokes gained approach in this field. So I love a guy like Chris Baker who nobody's really heard of and isn't going to play and I think can make some noise. Ventura is a guy that I've talked about here before, Oklahoma State guy. One of my favorite players on tour because he just scores like crazy when he's on because he's an elite putter. So if his iron play is there, he's going to be in great shape. He's great off the tee, he's long, and he's sitting just outside the top 125. And that's going to be maybe a narrative that gets talked up a little bit too much this week. But guys who are outside of the top 125 in FedEx Cup points, if they play well this week, obviously get in. So there's some extra pressure on guys. Denny McCarthy, I thought was great last week at the PGA. That's a big time event for him. It's a major, right? But Denny McCarthy has sneakily played in some really, really big time events from Walker Cups and things like that. And he's just an elite putter who can score, right? Iron play has been improved. So I'm a big fan of Denny McCarthy this week. And then Barracuda Bryce Garnett. Love Garnett. He's an elite ball striker. He's got great history here. He was 6th last year. He's right on the cusp of that FedEx Cup points. And he's been I think that Bryce Garnett, if he had a bigger name, or if he had a win under his belt, he'd be 7,800 this week, just in terms of how he's been playing lately. So I think you're getting it. Bryce Garnett is a huge value at 6,700 this week, and maybe my favorite below 7K punt. So let's take a look at Majors Challenge. Back to that, we will get into the build my lineup for the week. Let me share my screen. Majors Challenge. There we go. For the Wyndham Championship, we already got 5 you degenerates in there playing the Wyndham Championship. And let's take, I'll be honest, I have not looked. I have not looked at the groups yet. So this is going to be exciting to see who kind of lines up where. All right. So we've got, oh, my chair is like breaking here. We've got, Brooks. Duh. Playing Brooks. Don't play Abe Answer here. He's not in the field. Sung Jim played really well here. I'm going to play Webb. I probably won't have a ton of Webb in GPP. Maybe I will, but Webb's pretty much a lock and load. I said I was going to fade Fleetwood, right? So for me, I'm not going to have Fleetwood. I could play Paul Casey, but he's going to, Paul Casey putted so well last week, and now he's going to probably be chalk. Like, he's going to let you down, right? It's Paul Casey. That's what he does. So maybe just to get different here, I will play a guy like, I like Billy Ho this week. I think he's interesting. And then I'll put Casey as my alternate. In the next range, Group B. So my Group A is Koepka, Simpson, Horschel, Casey's my alt. Group B, all right. Lanto, don't play Lanto Griffin. He is not in the field this week. Oof. It is getting sketchy. All right. Love Sabs this week. Playing really well, and he makes a ton of sense. He's been super successful here over his career. Von Taylor withdrew again too. Don't play him. I think Joaquin Niemann on a course that needs scoring, I really like, so I'm going to put Niemann in there. I talked about Grace being on the cusp of something big. I think that he's a good play. And then I do love Bazoonhout. I might pull Grace or Niemann or even Sabs for Bazoonhout. I think that this is a course that really suits him too. Ryan Armour is a guy that has had a ton of success here over his career. Definitely interested there. Bud Colley's interesting. Yeah, we get Bryce Garnett. I think you just got to play Harris English here because it's such a value. Really like Russie Henley. Is that all my guys? Man, this tier is better than the Group B. Literally. Oh, yeah. Si Woo. All right, who do I got to get out of there? Sorry, Harris. This group's better. This Group C is better than Group B this week. I would go down saying that. Luke List, Ortiz, Red. Yes, this is a better group. This group is playing better golf right now than Group B. Yeah, what the heck? All right, well, I'll put English as my punt there. And now this is where it gets tricky, right? I talked about how I really like Chris Baker. I think that he's definitely interesting in this group. You can play Akshay Bhatia, a North Carolina kid who just turned pro last year. Cam Davis played really well here last year. He's been playing some good golf. Dougie Gim's got a good result here. Scott Harrington can score like crazy at times. Davis Love, obviously. Cam Percy. Obviously some old guys who can kind of get it around. Anybody at the bottom here? Oofda, this is a tough group. So for me, I'm going to go Duff Daddy, maybe. Wes Bryan. Yeah, I think Wes Bryan could get it around here, and he's been playing pretty good golf. I'm going to have to dig deeper into Wes, but I'll throw RG Outwell in as my alternate. And there's my lineup. Yeah, I like that. I don't love Wes. I'm going to have to dig into Group D a little bit more here, but I will say that I think that Group C is better than Group B head to head. But yeah, there's my team. So make sure that you get in. It's www.majorschallenge.com/DFS Army. The winner of this contest week to week typically gets to come in and talk to me unless you're living in London and we couldn't connect. And hopefully I can get our interview and add it in here because Daniel seems like a great guy. And again, our first international winner. We do have a lot of international guys here at DFS Army, and something that I love is that they bring kind of a different perspective, right, about some of these guys that maybe grew up playing over there. They, are, the European tour is obviously big, so they get an idea of kind of what's coming over to us. And what I do love about those guys, we've got it, like I said, we got a couple of them in our DFS Slack, is that they're always super knowledgeable, and just like everybody, I really do feel like the one thing that DFS Army has going for it is, whether you're winning, you're losing, everybody really is a family in that aspect of our community. When you think about how big our community is, that, you know, having that family feel is really nice. And I want to see people be successful. And I take it personally when somebody else doesn't, when somebody's not winning, right? And I want to reach out and say like, hey, how can I help you? How can I be better to help you? So that's something that, you know, and I think that goes across the board for our staff here at DFS Army, from Chop and Keg to Kevin, you know, Geek, to Taco, to everybody. Everybody wants to see everybody else be successful. And it's something that I'm really proud to be a part of. And, you know, I don't think you see that all the time in the DFS industry. So now that I'm off my sappy high horse, have a great week. I will catch you guys on Wednesday for my VIP only Chalk Donkey video. Make sure you check out MajorsChallenge.com. Join our group. You get a free month to Sportsbet Army if you beat me, and you get to come talk some smack to me the next day. So have a great week, guys, and good luck at this week's Wyndham Championship.